Hey everyone, it's Joel from Reboot Studios here, and today I was just going to talk about how we go about making our games multiplayer or introducing some sort of multiplayer aspect to our games. So this is absolutely free. You can pay, however, a free version is available. However, you can only have 20 people on your server at once. So we've found that using Photon Unity Networking works a lot better than using the Unity networking that's built in. Some people like the Unity networking, but we've always found that the Photon Unity networking just works a bit better. So the first thing I'm going to get you guys to do is go to your asset store when you're in Unity and just search up Photon Unity Networking, or PUN 2, and you should be able to you can find a paid version, but there's not much difference other than this one will give you more users on your server. However, we're going to just pick the free version for today. Obviously, if you're making a large game, then you're going to need more than 20 users on your entire server. So we're just going to import this into our project. Okay, so now that we have imported our Photon Unity Networking, we have this wizard here. Now this wizard, you must put an email or an app ID into here and set up your project. So this will create an account with Photon Unity Networking. So you can just make a brand new email or use one that you have right now and just put that in, click setup project, and it will generate you an app ID. Now I already have an app ID, so I'll just import that right now. So I've created this sample scene here. Just put a plane, and I've just added a FPS first person shooter controller just from the Unity standard assets. However, I've put a capsule on it and taken off its capsule collider just so it can just so this controller has some sort of graphic, because if there's no capsule you obviously can't see it, so we want to be able to see each other if it's multiplayer. So I've just created this here, and we've got our Photon Unity Networking. So the next step would be to, in our assets, just turn this into a prefab, and this is because we want to spawn in our player. We don't want to have him directly in the scene. We want to spawn him in. So we're just going to drag it, and we're just going to say prefab variant. So now before we get started with the net code, we're just going to make a sort of menu, a UI element, so that we can join our servers or host a server by the use of buttons. Rather than you just believing that it's going to work, I'm going to actually make a project here so you can really tell that it works. So now we have our entire menu set up here. So obviously when we play, we just disable our canvas so that obviously we can't see anything like that. We're just going to call this our networking script, obviously C#, and we can just put this anywhere on our world here. So let's just create an empty object, and we'll just call this our script object, and reset its transform. So we'll just add a component, networking, just so it's always in the world. So let's open it up. Okay, so now that we have our script here, we just want to create some functions. And the reason we want to create these functions is we want a function for every time they press one of these buttons. So we'll just create a join random clicked, and obviously we'll create a a host server clicked, and then we'll also create a join server clicked. Now we will need our, let's just put a namespace up here. Let's just say we're using unityengine.ui, and then here we'll put input field. What will we say? We'll say host server input, and we'll say input field join server input, and then we'll make both of these public just so we can put them in our in Unity here. So we'll just drag these in here, and let's just save our scene while we're at it. We'll just call this multiplayer scene. Photon network.connect using settings. Now this is a Photon method that will just connect using the settings that we have already set up in here. Now these are the ones that we set up when we put in our email earlier. So it's just going to set up with that. And then Photon has a lot of oh, we do not want that in update. Whoops. We want that in join random clicked. So the function, callback function that we're going to use is a public virtual void on connected to master. So this will call if we successfully connect using settings. So Photon will call this, and in here we would just want to join a random room. So if we click join random, we want to, in here, so you know, if we have clicked join random, we want to join a random room here. Okay, and subsequently if we clicked host server, we want to start or create a room here. So in this function, we just want to say Photon network dot join random room. Now this is only if we clicked join random. So we were just going to create a string here. This is the easiest way that we found to do it, is just create a string and just say connection type, and then when we click join random, we want connection type to equal random. Right, that's an easy way to do it. And then in these two, we want it to equal host, and in this one join. And then in here, we can just say if our connection type is equal to random, is equal to random, then we just want to call this. Obviously else if it's equal to host or join, then we want to do other things, but we'll just start with random. So when we join a random room, it will call back another void. So if it successfully joins the room, it's going to call a on joined room. So it's going to call on joined room. So this is when we're in our room and we're ready to spawn our player, and this will call whether we've joined a random room, whether we've created a room and joined it obviously, or whether we've joined a server that already has a name. So we're just going to leave that there, and we'll get back to that soon. Now if our connection type is equal to host, then we want to obviously create a room. So we want to say Photon network.create room. Now for this we will need a room options and a room name. Now the room name is obviously going to be what we put into our text here. So we need to reference our input fields that we did earlier. So because we choose host, we want to say string room name equals our host server input dot text. Now our room options, this just say our max users in that room, or whether the room is visible, so whether you can see it if you have maybe a list of rooms to join. So the easiest way to do it, I'm just going to make it visible, open, so it's not password protected or anything like that. So we're just going to say it equals new room options, and then we just want to say is visible equals true, is open equals true, and we want to say our max players equals, and we have to cast this as a byte. We'll just say maybe 10. We're not going to have any more than 2 people in this because it's a tutorial, but we'll just say 10. So then in create room, we just want to say room name and our room options that we just created. So that will create a room and will automatically join us into that room. So then on join room will be called. With join, we want to have our a name that wants to be joined. So we'll say the server name. So this is the one that we want to join, and then we will say join server input text, and then we just want to say Photon Network dot join room, and then we'll just say our server name. So this is assuming that everything works. Say we join a room, but we made a typo on our text. Obviously there's going to be no room there. So if we fail to join that room, we want to, either we can either create the room just with us in it, or we can just say that it failed. Now we're just going to say that the room's going to fail. So we're just going to call, there'll be a callback for each fail as well. So we'll just say void on join room failed, and this is just the return code and the message that Photon will give you as well, but we're not going to really worry about that. So if we fail to join the room, we're just going to debug.log failed to join room. Obviously if it's a real game, you're going to want to have some text that pops up, says there is no room with that name. So say we try and join a random room, but there are no rooms to join at all. There's no rooms, and we're going to have that problem right at the start because obviously there's no one else on our server. So there's another one for that, and it is on join random failed, and it also comes with a return code and a message. Now in this one, if we fail to join a random room, we don't really care who's in the room, so we're just going to create a room. So we're just going to say Photon Network dot create room, and we don't care about the room name, and our room options, we'll just make it the exact same as we had up here. So we'll just create a room with no name, which will just give it a random name that Photon generates. So it's just going to be another random room. And there we go. So if we fail to join a random room, it will create one for us. And so if we click random, it'll work. If we click host, it's going to work. If we click join, it's going to work. So this is the end of the first part. This video is getting pretty long. Now in the second part, obviously we can't see anything yet, nothing's really going to work yet, but in the second part we're going to spawn in our player, get rid of our menu here, and we should be able to see our 2 players and they should be able to move around. So this has been Joel from Reboot Studios, and I'll see you guys in the next part of how we go about making multiplayer games.